Welcome back, everybody. It's Tom Christie back in the carving workshop, and this will be session 3 of carving a Drake Hooded Merganser. And in the previous sessions, we got the head all shaped up. The eyes are set. Now, in this session, we'll get the body roughed out, probably get some details added to the body as well in preparation for mounting the head to the body in the following session. If you're enjoying my channel and getting value out of it, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, but it does help me out if you would consider doing that. So let's get going on the body. Hey, I wanted to cover a quick correction I made to the lamellae here. I was reading Pat Godden's pattern book, and he made the notation that the Hooded Merganser is the only merganser where these are vertically aligned and they do not angle back, as in the red-breasted mergansers and common mergansers. So I went back with the burning tool, straightened those out because I want to be accurate as possible on both sides. Took about 2 minutes to do, but I did want to make that correction. And Pat Godden is a waterfowl biologist, knows his stuff, gets it right about 99.9% of the time, and I haven't found that 0.1 yet, but I'm still looking for it. Thanks, Pat. Just a few rough layout items on the body before we start rounding things. I've located the tail so that we have that square from side to side. Just a note, the tail feathers of the Hooded Merganser Drake are really long, exceptionally long. And so we need to pay attention to that so we don't cut this too short and bring the coverts back too far. I'm going to droop the wingtips down on each side. So we're going to carve some open area in the middle. And then I just want to pay attention to a couple of things up here. I've got the head location marked out so that I don't carve away some of this area that needs to remain mated to the head. And then on the Hooded Merganser Drake, there's a kind of a feather group from the breast that overlaps the side pockets, so we want to carve that in place as well on both sides. And I notched that so that we have the proper location to begin with. Now we can do some general rounding with the saber-tooth burr and then come back and do some more sketching. Okay, I've got this 3/4 inch diameter ball-nosed saber-tooth burr. This is kind of my go-to burr for rough rounding using the Fordham here. I'm going to start at the breast. I'm going to start at normal speed, and then we'll move up to 2 times speed so that we can get through this rough rounding quicker. So I'm rounding that from the head profile on out and around the breast. Catch this other side and I'll speed this up at this point. Okay, this is 2 times carving speed. So continuing to round the breast, get rid of any flat spots, working from the neck down and then from the belly up. Now I'm going to spend some time removing material. These primaries are going to be laying down instead of being crossed. So I need to move material on either side there so that I can form the tail. And I'm doing that now, keeping in mind where the coverts are so that I don't take off too much wood or not enough there. And I'm just slowly grinding down to this guideline on the side that I've given myself. And then I'm leaving about 1/4 inch of thickness in the tail. This is not a fully decorative bird, so I want to leave some strength there. Now I'm going to spend some time taking material out here, but I have to be careful I don't take too much material because the tertials are grouped and drooped, for lack of a better term, in that area. So I don't want to take off more wood than I will need to use as I carve those tertial groups back there. So be cautious to begin with, and you can always take off more wood later. Right now I'm working on rounding the body in general and getting those side pockets nice and round. A lot of beginning carvers leave those side pockets flat because that's the way the bandsaw cut them out, but you've got to make sure you have a nice, pleasing, rounded shape. There are very few flat spots on a duck. I'm working the other side, and rather than show all that, I'll just jump ahead a little bit. I'm basically working the other side very similar to what I did previously. I'll get that done. Now I've switched to the cylindrical shaped saber-tooth burr, and I'm going to use that I'm back to normal speed, by the way, on the video, because I want to show this in real time. You really have to go at this slow, particularly, I've mentioned this in other videos, in this end grain area, and especially like here where you're going against the end grain. If you push a burr too hard, it's going to chatter and jump on you. So just go slow and just take a little bit off at a time. You'll save yourself a lot of grief. Just taking slices rather than trying to dig too deep too fast, particularly against the end grain. So I've got that underside of the tail kind of shaped up, and I'm going to the guideline again on the side of the tail that I've drawn, and now I'm going to round that area of the rump. I'll go ahead and speed the video up again. I just wanted to talk about that area in particular. You can't go too fast. Okay, I'm at 2 times speed, and I'm just rounding the other side of the rump there, cleaning things up and defining that lower side of the tail and rump. The lower side of the side pocket, I've already kind of carved that out. I'm just refining that a little bit here. Cleaning up the upper side of the tail where it meets the body there. Now I'm going to dig in here and create the separation between the primary groups. And just initially I'm defining the edge with the edge of the cylinder there. I'll have to go to a smaller bit to really clean up between the tertials and take that down as low as it needs to be taken. But I can get a lot of work done fast with this big burr. Doing the same thing here, defining the cape. The cape just barely peeks out from behind the crest of the bird in this position, but I did want to go ahead and carve that in. Now I'm going to switch to this smaller burr. It's about 1/4 inch cylindrical burr, and I can use that to clean up this area between the primary groups. And this particular burr has teeth on the end of it as well, so I use it like an end mill in tight spots like this. So I'm just taking that down so there's a nice smooth transition between the back and the rump as it goes into the coverts of the tail. Okay, let's take a look at where we are and do some more layout work. All right, we've got some rough rounding done, and now we can begin to define the side pocket areas. So from the side, I'm going to use my calipers and get an elevation on that side pocket. Put a little indentation there. And I know the back edge of the side pocket is there from my pattern. Do the same over here. If you've watched my other videos, this layout work is pretty much the same on each decoy, but I figure there's no harm in repeating some things, and I've gotten that feedback from people that it's helpful, so I'm going to do that. I'm getting a measurement here at the front of the side pocket where it meets the breast here. That comes into the breast right around that area, or the breast feathers. The same on this side. And then we need to get a top-down reference. I know from the center line here out to the side pocket is about that far. Somewhere in that area from the center line. And then back near the top of the side pocket, it gets more narrow. Just want to give myself a guideline back here as well. Again, from the center line, that area. So this is the material we want to take out on both sides. We'll take that out and then round both directions. Just a word of caution here, I'll have to be careful back here that I don't dig too deep, because I've got these tertials kind of drooping right over the top of the side pocket. So I'm going to need to leave some material for these tertials that come from the center and droop down back to behind the tail here, or where the tail starts, comes out of the body. So I need to be careful and leave some material here as I'm forming that side pocket. I've got the video at 2x speed here, and I'm using the cylindrical saber-tooth burr to remove that material that we penciled in. Basically, I'm taking it from the top down to the side profile of the side pocket. You can't see that, but there you can see it. And notice in the back here, I'm leaving that material that we talked about so that I don't cut too much away back there. I want to take enough that I can get a nice roundness into the side pocket, but in this position, with those tertials drooped just over the top of the side pocket, we can't go too deep there. So you can see I've taken enough that I can get a nice rounded side pocket look, but I didn't go all the way to the depth of the pattern on those side pockets, if that makes sense. And then I'm rounding once I get it at the proper depth both the side pocket and also the scapular area up and around. You want a nice roundness to the side pocket. Going to do the same on the opposite side. And I'll skip ahead here rather than just repeat that same process. Okay, a little farther along on that other side pocket. So I've got the whole body kind of rough rounded at this point. Once I do this quick rough rounding, then I want to take a few dimensions to see if I'm in the ballpark on the pattern dimensions. So we'll check that now. Let's do some quick checks. Side pocket height. Looks like I need to come down just a little bit. Let's check the other side. Same there. And then up front here, same thing. Got to come down just a little bit. So I'll go back in and lower those areas. Both sides. Let's do a quick check across the back here. I left that a little heavy back there, which looks about right. Check across the front area, that's right on. So just a little bit of a modification there, and I want to do some layout work before I go back in to carve those out. That won't take much time at all, but I want to lay in where these primaries are going to be and the tertials next. All right, I've got the tertials laid out. I know where I need to lower the side pockets on both sides. Kind of a rough location of the primary groups. And now I can go in and finish that rough carving. Okay, I'm going to go with the 1/4 inch cylindrical burr for a little more control here. And I'm going to use that to go in and lower that side pocket area that we looked at to get back to the pattern. There's not much that needs to come off there. Once I cut that down a little bit, then I'll just re-round everything. This is normal speed, just to give you a feel for it, and I'll go ahead and speed this up a little bit. Okay, this is 2 times speed. You can see I'm just kind of rounding that area where the breast feathers overlap the side pocket. Shaping that up. Addressing this other side pocket to get it lowered like we need it to be. And then just rough shaping this area just to get a feel for how those breast feathers are going to overlap. Now I'm going to slow the video back down as I do some carving on the tertials and the primaries here. All right, I'm going to use this burr to do some rough shaping of the tertials and create a step between the tertials so they have a layered look to them as they lay over one another. This is on the far side, so hopefully I've got a little better view for you coming up. But I'm just layering those tertials. And now I want to remove material on the primary group. And you can see I'm kind of defining the end of the tertial groups there. This is all very rough at this point, but I can do this quickly, and then I'll refine all of this later with finer tools. You can see I've defined where the primaries go under the tertials there, and now I'm working on the tail coverts area just to smooth that out. But I've created a little raised area for the primary group. Going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Just quickly putting some definition around the shape of these tertials. I'll jump ahead a little bit here so we can see better. Now I'm working the other side. Same process here, defining the tertials, defining the primary groups, and then removing material between the primaries and the tail coverts to blend those in. This is all with this rough burr, but I can take material off quickly and then refine things later. Now I'm going to use that burr to go between the primary groups where they're separated along the back and make sure I take that area between down to the proper elevation so it matches up with the tail and the tail coverts. I'm using that like an end mill right now, just taking material off slowly so that it blends right in with the tail area. You can see the shape of these tertials is very unique on the hooded merganser. They kind of droop. They're relatively narrow and kind of curved. So we want to make sure we carve those accurately. Just using that burr to refine all areas, remove material, kind of sculpt that whole rump tertial primary area. Get it rough shaped. Starting to take shape. I'm going to speed this up at this point. Okay, we've got pretty good rough shape. I'm going to switch to a flame-shaped ruby bit so that I can get in between these tertials and define the tertial tips of the feathers. And again, this is all pretty rough at this point. All right, that's very rough, but kind of rough shaped the position of the tertials and the primaries to get those in mind. And there's a lot of refinement to do, obviously, but we kind of have the breast located, the cape, which is just peeking out from behind the crest here, and side pockets formed, tail formed. Next time we'll refine all of that, probably add a little sculpting to some of the feather groups, sand everything up, and get ready to mount the head. All right, I think that's a wrap on session 3 of carving the Drake hooded merganser. We've got the body rough shaped, the head ready to go. We'll do some refinements to the body next time. Just another tip before I go for today. I keep alcohol wipes handy, and I always use a respirator when I'm carving. The last thing I do before I leave the carving shop is just swab the respirator down. That's probably more information than you want, but I just thought if you're new to carving, these can get pretty junked up, and it's good, important to keep it clean because it's right against your face. You're breathing through it all day as you're carving, so I like to keep it clean. That's a good way to end for the day. Keep it clean, everybody. Have fun out there. Talk to you later.